Welcome to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Final score, Chris Boswell 18, Atlanta Falcons 10. Welcome into the studio for our first of many Steeler Extra Point show today on a winning Sunday for the Steelers. They're 1-0 to start this season. Bob Pompeani along with Hoke Pro 76. Chris Hoke here in studio. What a crazy game to begin this season. And we have a lot planned for you. We're going to be putting up player interviews, Mike Tomlin's press conference. Later, you have an opportunity to call us with a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. But right now, we talk about some of the keys to this game. And if you're looking for a player of the game, there were several to choose from for the Steelers. But on the top of the list, I mean, T.J. Watt is T.J. Watt. You know it. But Chris Boswell has been just unbelievable money in these situations. And today, 6 field goals, but even more impressive than that, after Cameron Johnston got run into and was a situation where he hurt his knee. It had to be Boswell who had to come into the game. And what did he do? A 43-yard punt with no return. Chris, the man was terrific today.
Absolutely terrific. And listen, you and I were both watching the game together, Bob. And when Johnston went down, we said, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Is Boz going to be able to kick this ball? Is he going to give really good field position to the Falcons? But not only did he kick a 43-yard punt, he pinned him back and flipped the field and put it on the 40-yard line on Falcons territory. That's where the Steelers defense took over. And that's what the storyline was all about. Boswell and this Pittsburgh Steelers defense,
No
Bob.
question. It is hard to win a game when you don't score an offensive touchdown, but the Steelers did today largely because of, winning the turnover game. Mike Tomlin talks about it all the time. Today it was 3-0. Atlanta made all the mistakes. The Steelers did not. There were some critical calls in this game that I thought were bad calls, quite frankly, by the officials. But when you force 3 turnovers and you don't make any, although late in the game when Justin Fields took a sack, I thought that ball was going to come out. That was the wrong play at the wrong time, and he's lucky he didn't get away with it. But overall, they did a very good job protecting the football.
And that's what Coach Tomlin likes to do, is protect the football. And Justin Fields, his throws, even though there were some good throws and some bad throws, right, I don't think many of his throws were in harm's way where they would have been intercepted. Where Kirk Cousins, he did throw 2 interceptions, but several other throws could have been intercepted. So I thought in that area, Justin Fields protected the football.
All right, let's talk about Justin Fields, because all week long, at the end of it anyway, we're all talking about speculation. What about Russell Wilson? He was out there today, but it was interesting. When he was in pregame, there were no medical staff around him, which seemed to indicate that he wasn't going to play, and he didn't. He was the emergency third quarterback. Justin Fields went in there, kind of a slow start, and you can tell that the Steelers were very, very cautious about letting him throw the ball down the field to start.
Especially in the first half, you could see that there were times when they were very, very conservative. They didn't want to take any chances. On that first drive, he made some errant throws, and they wasn't accurate, and the accuracy improved. What I enjoyed is that he threw the ball deep over 30 yards 3 times to George Pickens. Has a 33-yarder, a 35-yarder, and a 40-yarder. Those are big chunk plays that the Steelers lacked last season, so I like that. One thing I need him to improve on, Bob, Justin Fields, is he misses on a lot of easy throws, a lot of quick outs. You saw it early in the game when he missed Najee Harris with a lot of green in front of him. He threw it behind him, and he couldn't catch the ball, and you saw the frustration come out in Najee. Those are the kind of throws that Justin Fields has to get better at.
You can see there was a Fields day, or a field day down there. Pretty cautious numbers, 156 yards. His rushing was a big part of it. There were plays that were designed, quarterback draws. I thought Arthur Smith did a pretty good job. I think everyone knew, that this is a situation you want to protect the ball first, so therefore it's going to be a lot of running, heavy dose. They had to rely on an offensive line, which I was a little concerned about. When you have rookies and, Spencer Anderson playing left guard for the first time in his NFL career, that's a lot to overcome, but they did, and I thought they got better as the game went on. That last drive, or one of the last drives, was 13 plays, 72 yards. It ended up with no points, but they took 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes off the game clock, and that hurt Atlanta.
Yeah, and I thought Arthur Smith, like you said, did a great job of calling the game, especially in that second half, controlling the clock. Justin Fields, he had some design runs there late in the game. He ran that quarterback lead where he pulled Connor Haywood around, and he led block. He got a first down. There was also a drive or two before that where he went quarterback draw and was able to spread everyone out on third down and went up the middle and got a first down. So some really good calls. I thought, too, Bob, Najee Harris ran really hard. I don't know if his numbers are going to reflect how hard he ran, but he ran hard, he ran physical, and he ran with the shoulders down. And I thought he represented himself really well today.
Yeah, and later on they were using the misdirection play and then a sort of a bootleg there by Fields as he was going to tight ends, both Freiermuth and Washington. That's a hard play to defend if you're Atlanta, because all the sway of the motion is going to go in one direction, and he has the ability with his fleet-footedness to make a play, and he did. He went backwards, and all of a sudden there's an open wide or a tight end.
Well, that's the benefit of having Justin Fields versus Russ Wilson, right? Russ Wilson, at this point in his career, wants to sit in the pocket, and he wants to throw the ball from inside that protection. So if that pocket breaks down, he's in trouble. Justin Fields, you can do the rollouts, you can do the naked bootlegs, and you can hit those tight ends as he rolls out the naked away from the flow of the offensive line, and that worked well for them in the second half to move the chains and get some good yardage. And I believe that they'll continue to do that with Justin Fields because of his legs and his ability to move the pocket.
Which leads to a question. Next week in Denver, who's the starting quarterback if Russell Wilson's healthy enough to play and he's going back to Denver? We'll tackle that one. We'll have a lot more coming up, including Mike Tomlin at the microphone down in his press conference. So stick around. We're just getting started. This is the Ford Extra Point Show, and it's live right here on KDKA Plus following a Steelers 8-point win down at the Mercedes-Benz Bowl.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
We're back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. We're awaiting Mike Tomlin and player interviews, but in the meantime, let's talk about really the key to the game was defense. It stood up. They made Atlanta force into mistakes. Steelers made none of them on their side of it. A couple of interceptions. Kirk Cousins, you know, did not play at all in the preseason, coming off Achilles surgery, and he did not look very good. He didn't have the ball a lot today either.
No, he looked mobile, and really, Greg Olsen talked many times on the broadcast about how last year Kirk Cousins was under the quarterback more than any other quarterback in the NFL. And this year, I don't think he was one time underneath center, and he was in pistol, which gave him the ability just to take a couple steps, and he was a sitting duck. He could not move around, and it was able to give the Steelers defense an ability in the second half to really get after him and control that line of scrimmage. And you look at those two takeaways, Bob. You talk about the interception from DeShon Elliott early, Dante Jackson late. It all was caused because of pressure, because of defensive linemen, outside linebackers in Kirk Cousins' face. Early it was 99 Ogunjobi. Late it was Ogunjobi again, Highsmith, and T.J. Watt. I mean, when you can get pressure on the quarterback, it creates a lot of opportunities on the back end for your corners and safeties and linebackers.
Especially one who can't move too well, and he couldn't move very well. They knew that, so they trapped him in. Ogunjobi, I thought, even though he won't show up too much on the stat sheet, he was very active there today. But T.J. Watt is going to be the star of the game. And if this was a normal game where the two strip sacks counted, he would be the defensive player of the week already without many of these games being played, because he would have had 3 sacks, a fumble recovery, 2 tackles for losses, and the man was unstoppable. I was quite surprised that Atlanta didn't try to really go, put more help over there, because he lined up wide, and the speed that he has getting around a tackle is incredible.
But Bob, remember early in the game, you and I were remarking they kept running the ball to the offensive left, the defensive right, away from T.J. Watt. It seemed like the whole first quarter their plan was stay away from 90, and that's what they did. But then 90 started to make his presence felt. I mean, even though you said with those 2 sack fumbles taken away, 4 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, a fumble recovery, I mean, that's still probably one of the best stat lines for a defender in the NFL today. So, I mean, just a game changer. That there's no secret why the Steelers are such a winning team with him on the field.
And you might remember on that very first drive, Atlanta was limited to 3 points. Why? Because after running left all the time, Watt was over there, and they ran to him, and it was a TFL. 4-yard tackle for loss. And so when that happened, all of a sudden backs him up. And then there was a nice tackle by Peyton Wilson, which I think stopped Bijan Robinson from getting into the end zone, sets up a field goal. Otherwise, that would have been a touchdown drive.
There's no question about it. Peyton Wilson, you brought him up. I thought he played well. He got a lot more snaps than a lot of people thought. Remember, he missed the last preseason game with a concussion. He got a lot of snaps in practice. He took the field today. And I think Landon Roberts got a lot less snaps than people thought. But Peyton Wilson made his presence felt out there today, had some big tackles. And you know he'll go back and watch that film. He's a hard worker. The coaches will coach him hard, and he'll be much better next week as he takes the field.
No question about that. And the Steelers come all away with this one, and 18-10 final score. They get to 1-0. They're in Denver next week, and of course we'll have that game for you on KDK, followed by more of this stuff late after the game. Let's also talk about Patrick Queen in his first game. There were times he seemed to be fighting through some of the blocking schemes that he was facing, but overall you can tell he's going to be one of those guys who's going to make plays, a lot of plays throughout the course of the season. He actually seemed like he was in there more than Landon Roberts at times.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Queen had 2 tackles, but he was all over the place, and so it's going to be exciting for the season to see him happen.
All right, Mike Tomlin's at the podium, so let's go there right now.
Defensively, man, we dropped a pick or something there early. They converted some third downs and started the game with a field goal, and You know, that's not why we put our defense on the field to start the game. We had some fumbled CQ exchanges on offense. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. Some drives got stopped. You know, you kick a field goals, man, in a hostile environment versus a good group, man. You know, you're in danger. And so I'm just really appreciative that we're able to get it done. We got things to work on, but it's really good to work on your ills with a W. And so we're going to do that. You know, you start this season, man, on the road, man. It's 32 teams start this thing undefeated. And it's just good to get your first one on the road. Half this league is obviously not going to be winners this week. And to get on the road and get out of the gate with a W is something that I respect. And it's really exciting for the guys. From a health standpoint, you know, Cam Johnston appears to have a serious injury. I have an update for you next time we come together. It's a shame for him. This guy has been spectacular, man, through team development. He's an absolute stud, not only in his talents, but his approach to business. And so, you know, my heart goes out to him. Darius Rush is being evaluated for a concussion. I don't know whether it is or isn't, but as the game ended, he was being evaluated in that way. We had some bumps and bruises. Some guys go out, but those guys came back in, D-Jack, Joey Porter. But I'm just really appreciative of how the team supported one another and fought through. And that's what teams do. You know, a case in point is we gave up a drive there before the half, and our offense went down the field and got a field goal to respond, and that was important. Obviously, you saw our defense stand up several times in support of our offense. We had some unique contributions today, like Scotty Miller as a backup holder. You know, look at your flip card, man. You don't see a backup holder on that flip card. So we're just really appreciative of unique skill sets that help us win. Can't say enough about Boz, not only in terms of him kicking the ball, but that punt was timely. T.J. Watt always delivers when it gets thick. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. And so there's a lot of efforts to speak to. But largely, man, we're just thankful to come into this place and get this victory and kind of move on with our journey. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, you wanted to pass on the field goal there. The previous drive is you figured what's time to score a touchdown. What was the thought process?
Just, you know, we're going to live that life. We don't live in our fears, man. We play and play to win. If you can't get 4th and 1, man, sometimes you don't deserve to win. And that's just a philosophical approach that we live by. I believe in our bigs. I've talked to you guys repeatedly that we're going to ride the wave that our bigs on offense and defense provide, and we mean it. Obviously, we didn't get it done right there, but we still live that life.
Mike, how do you evaluate the job that Justin Fields did today, especially settling in as the game went on?
Really appreciative of his efforts and his play, certainly.
What happened in pregame? Can you take us through that decision-making progress? Was Russ even a consideration?
It's really, you know, not a long, drawn-out process. I'd rather deal with short-term misery, to be quite honest with you. We're in week 1. There's a lot of ball out in front of us. I just thought it was appropriate to put the healthy guys on the field. I felt really good about both quarterbacks. I was very clear to you guys when I named Russ the starter how comfortable I was with both quarterbacks. And so if that is true, why not be really comfortable with playing Justin under the circumstances, with Russ being in less than ideal physical shape? And so that was the thought process. It wasn't a lot of discussion. Russ was very supportive today, and that was appreciated. But we went with Justin. Man, I'm glad we got 2 real capable quarterbacks, as I've mentioned before.
Coach, can you speak more about his resiliency throughout the game, talking about Justin Fields?
Man, Justin is, you know, as I've gotten to know him, man, he is a real steady Eddie, man. He's not overly talkative, man, but he's got a steady, strong demeanor. And just being in stadium with him, man, some of the things that I've seen through team development were confirmed. It's just good to be able to communicate with a guy when things get thick and you see the clear eyes. He's there. He's solid as a rock, and I think his play and thus our play is kind of reflective of that.
Does Justin's performance today affect Russell's status as QB1 as the starter?
And you can come ask me that question on Tuesday.
Coach, any words for Raheem Morris, his first game back in Atlanta?
Man, I love my brother, and I wish him the best moving forward, but that's what I said to him after the game. Man, you know, this is what we do, but that's my little brother, and I'm proud of him, and I wish him nothing but the best moving forward.
Mike, you touched on it, the pass toward the end of the half, to get an answer like that quick on that deep pass, and it was a good route by Pickens. Can you just talk about the impact that had? It's
team supporting team. You know, we had a couple timeouts, man. We were, trying to be aggressive there, man, and respond. And we were able to do that, thankfully, and put 3 points on and make it a one-score game. So, that's what teams do, though, man. Like, there are going to be plenty of times in a 60-minute battle that all three phases get a chance to support one another. And when you really think about it, you saw really vivid examples of that today. In a lot of areas, man, that Bos punt and that coverage by Scotty Miller and whoever that other gunner was significant.
So since we're positive with some results, but I saw growth in the wide receiver room. So what do you think overall in terms of the first game, their growth so far as you're going forward?
I got no reservations about our wide receiver room. They did what I expected them to do, which is playmaker, and I'm appreciative of their efforts today, no doubt.
How do you evaluate the job that your offensive line did today?
They're 1-0, just like all of us. That's how I evaluate it. Football's our game. Our business is winning. We play today, and we play to win. We'll comb through it tomorrow. I'll have all that cute stuff for you on Tuesday.
You talk about the defense as far as shutting the Falcons out in the second half.
I'm appreciative of that, but to be quite honest with you, man, we got high standards and expectations for this group, man. We got some first-team All-Pros in that unit, and I expect them to play like that, and they did. Big-time players step up in them big-time moments, man. Can't say enough about 90 and company.
How do you feel like you did in your pressure on Cousins? Do you feel like you were at least around him enough to affect what they were doing in the passing game?
Cousins is very good versus blitz. And so we had to create pressure really in a non-blitz structure. We know that about him. Last year he was good versus 5 or more rushers. Over the course of his career, he's great versus 5 or more rushers. He's been good against us specifically as the Pittsburgh Steelers versus 5 or more rushers. And so that wasn't our agenda. We needed to do it with a 4-man rush, and we were able to. We were able to pace him. We were able to get him off the spot. We would want more, but we're never going to be satisfied. That's just the life that we live. I was appreciative of what we were able to get done in their efforts in that regard.
One more, if anyone.
Boswell, those were not easy kicks. 50, 57, 50, I mean, you've seen it before, but tell us about his value there.
Man, we all know what he's capable of. I don't think anybody in that locker room is surprised, by what he was able to do. As a matter of fact, he loves it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been around this guy a long time, man. He wants the long ball. He's built for it. And I think it's just really displayed in my confidence in him, man. I don't have any hesitation to send him out there. As a matter of fact, I look forward to sending him out there because I know he relishes it. And so we're thankful for that.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Chris Boswell, big talking points right there, and why not? He was outstanding today. The best in the history of the game, 50 yards and beyond. And today, 3 of those field goals of the 6 made were from 50 yards, 56, 57, and he had room to spare on each. And, boy, that punt was pretty unbelievable.
It was huge, right? Because in the situation, you're thinking Johnson's down, what's going to happen? A lot of teams will bring a guy in, and he would shank it, the ball would go out at the 25-yard line and put the team in the situation going on to score. He kicked it and put it down to the opposite 40-yard line. Huge kick for Chris Boswell.
And nice coverage by Scotty Miller on special teams. TJ Watt, another big star of this game at the podium. Let's go there live.
We just go out there when our numbers call and just try to make as many plays as possible and try to have as much fun as possible too. And like I said out there on the field after the game, we got a lot of speed on this defense, as you guys have seen, a lot of playmakers, a lot of offseason acquisitions, a lot of guys growing from year 1 to year 2, et cetera, et cetera. And we just have a fun defense to be a part of right now.
You take a little bit more of that responsibility upon yourself to set that tone?
Oh yeah, man, this is the best job in the world. So it's not hard for me to have a good time and want to play the best football that I possibly can.
TJ, they called you offsides on that one play late in the first half. You get a strip sack. Did you think you beat the snap on that?
Yeah, I talked to the official about it. Something that will get cleaned up hopefully moving forward. It just sucks when you study so hard and find a little nugget, a golden nugget, and you get it, and it gets taken away from you. So that was unfortunate, but it's not going to deter me from continuing to study and making those plays in the future.
What kind of adjustments were you guys making defensively to hold them to only, I think, 51 yards in the second half?
Trusting each other, playing sound defensive football, obviously a little bit of game plan adjustments, but really just trusting each other. We have a lot of new guys, like I just mentioned, and it's all about just leaning on each other and trusting that everybody's going to do their job and not try to do too much. That's something we've talked about in the past.
TJ, I know people talk about the X and O's, but as I've watched you over the years and your brother, you seem to relish the moment of coming in and doing your particular thing. So How do you do that game after game, year after year? Is this just something, a formula you might have?
I don't know. I think the first, like I was just talking to Herbig out there, I think the first quarter or 2 quarters, at least for me personally, was a little bit like knocking the rust off, not being able to play in the preseason, and then you kind of really warm up to the moment, you warm up to the game, and when you get an open surface like that, a 2-man surface in a 2-minute drill, I know those don't come often just because there's a lot of chip help usually throughout the game and slides and stuff like that, so I'm just trying to make the most of the opportunities that I know that are pretty good at chances for me to win.
Yeah, we saw you and other players getting fans hype. Can you talk about Steeler Nation and how they showed up today?
Steeler Nation's incredible, man. It's extremely demoralizing for an offense to be on a silent count at their home field. Steeler Nation is incredible. Honestly, a lot of those plays go to them just because the fumble that I was able to land on was because they had to be on a silent count at their own place. And anytime that happens, when you have a lot of shifts and motions, snaps can go anywhere, balls on the ground, you got to recover them. So Steeler Nation was absolutely incredible, but I'm not surprised.
How important has DeShon Elliott been to this defense? Kind of an under-the-radar, maybe off-season acquisition, but he had the first pick today.
He's been a huge asset to us, as is everybody that's came into this offseason. But like I said about Steeler Nation, I'm not surprised about him making plays either, just because I've seen it so much in practice throughout camp.
Overall, it felt like as a group, you guys were around Cousins, and not even when you didn't get sacks, you were around them to kind of disrupt what they were doing. How do you think you did in that regard?
We'll have to watch the tape, but we trust in our guys in the back end to cover, and they trust us to rush the passer, and we work hand in hand, and it creates a pretty dynamic group.
Is there a field goal distance that you're surprised to see Boz make? Or
No, it's just like slowly watching it go in. It felt like it was forever, but man, and he can punt too. Hell of a job by Boz today. Honestly, that's incredible. He was able to go out there and punt and give a good punt, and obviously the coverage did a great job as well.
TJ, you guys leaned on defense a lot last season. Just what did today tell you about the type of defense you guys can have?
There's a lot to correct, obviously, but it's great to see us take the ball away. Anytime our offense can possess the ball and we can take the ball away, that's usually a good formula for success. But there's just so much room for growth. We have a lot of great guys on this defense, a lot of great schematics as well, so sky's the limit.
It seemed like Peyton Wilson was all over DeShon Robinson. I mean, what kind of performance did he have today, and what does it mean for him to go out there and have that assignment as a rookie?
Yeah, I'll have to watch the film to see how he played. I'm so in the zone, I don't know what's going on out there, honestly, but the guy's a gazelle. He runs so fast. He's sideline to sideline. He absorbs so much information, always taking down so much notes, and I'm not surprised he had a good game today.
Good. All right, thank you, guys. We'll have Justin in here in a few minutes.
All right, that's TJ Watt after the game. And very seldom do you see a guy on the road get the crowd going the way he was getting. And he said that fumble that was self-inflicted by Atlanta had a lot to do with crowd noise. You might remember they started the third quarter down 10-9. Grady Jarrett gets a sack. They punt. They get great field position. They run DeShon Robinson 4 straight times. They get a first down on 1st and 10. Crowd's alive because he's encouraging them, and it led to a disaster.
Huge change.
Yeah.
Huge change of momentum, right? And it's huge. I've played in those games where we've been on the road, and Steeler Nation is so loud. It's a winning edge for us as players because you can go out there and play like you're playing at home on the road, and that's why home field advantage is so important. But not from when the Pittsburgh Steelers come to town, Bob.
Yeah, you saw a lot of those styles. They were all over the place. The outside linebackers we knew were going to be a strength because you have Highsmith on one side and, of course, TJ Watt. I was just really I couldn't believe that they didn't help on that right side where TJ Watt was, because I think that's the one guy you have to stop more than anybody else. If it frees up Highsmith, so be it. But they didn't do that. But behind him, Nick Herbig is another guy who's chomping at the bit to make some opportunity to play.
And I really like Herbig. You know, I just love his motor, and he really works hard at his craft. But if you look at it, though, T.J. Watt's sacks come from being out wide. He was out wide a lot beyond the tight end, Bob, and so he had to come from way outside, which gave him a better angle to the quarterback. But it shows you how quick and how fast T.J. Watt is, that he can get out from so wide and still get to the quarterback and have an impact on the game.
Now, he was very kind in the post-game interview just there talking about the official on the offside play. But you could tell on the field that he was livid with that call because, as he said, he spends a lot of time actually going through and trying to learn little tendencies. And he thought he had a time, just like Troy Polamalu used to do, when he would jump over everyone at the line of scrimmage, just timing that jump. And I thought he did it, but we looked at different replays, and it's kind of difficult to tell exactly. But you can understand why the guy would throw the flag. But at the same time, I thought it was really close.
Absolutely. And the game's changed a little bit since I played because they have those iPads on the sideline now, right? When I played, we just had a little still shots that we'd go through. They can go back now and watch pixel by pixel of every single play from the previous series. So the film study in the film room back here in Pittsburgh, down there to Atlanta, looking at the tab and seeing what's going on, he picked up a moment, a little nugget he called it, where he saw when the center picked his head up, the ball was snapped right away. He tried to time it up. The referee, from his angle, saw that T.J. Watt came off too quick. But listen, that sent a signal right there. That sent a message to the Falcons. He was coming. And I think it was better that that happened because it teed him off, Bob. Yeah. And he was more fired up. And that's why I think he had more impact on the game, because he was going to say, you're not going to hold me back. I'm going to make things happen.
Plus, he and his wife expecting their first child. So, he had the motor going even before this. And by the way, that mistake by Atlanta, forced by the crowd noise and T.J. Watt fumble recovery, led to the field goal that gave them a lead they never lost after that. When we come back, you're going to hear from Justin Fields, our winning quarterback in his Steelers debut. We got more on the way, plus your phone calls as we take you back to Atlanta for those post-game comments. 18-10, Steelers win without scoring an offensive touchdown. They're 1-0 winners today in Atlanta.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Thank you for joining us here this afternoon following a Steelers win, and couple that with the fact the Ravens lost. You saw that opener at Kansas City, and boy, the Chiefs looked really good. You also see that the Bengals lost today, and they're having some contract disputes with Jamar Chase. 16-10, Jacoby Brissett and company beat Cincinnati. So the Steelers, await what the Browns are going to do today. They're playing a late game. The Dolphins beat the Jags 20-17, and then the Texans over the Colts in a really good game, 29-27. A lot of people, Chris, have the Texans as one of the teams to get to a Super Bowl following last year. They went from worst to first to win their division. And boy, they loaded up in the offseason too, didn't they?
They really did. And they have a very explosive offense. And so that's going to be a team to watch. But here, it was a little too close to call, right? I mean, 29-27, but that's not going to give you a lot of comfort. The defense needs to step up there. That offense is for real.
It really is. And they got a lot of options down there for C.J. Stroud. All right, Chris Boswell, as we said, one of the best efforts you'll ever see by a kicker in a game. Many levels to this one. Let's go to Atlanta, hear what number 6 has to say.
This situation, we're going to work it a lot more.
Talking about making kicks, it's a little reminiscent of those games with Cincinnati and Boswell.
I don't pay too much attention. I mean, I have memories of it, but I don't, correlate one game to another or anything like that.
It's got to feel pretty good going 6 for 6. That doesn't happen too often, does it?
I mean, it definitely feels good. But I mean, we're right back on to the next week, and whatever I did this week has no relevance to next week. So.
Number 9, 6 for 6. That's what I was thinking of when we talked about him.
That's right.
But you've seen that in a playoff game in Cincinnati where he was just money down the middle, making all those things. It seems like it doesn't matter the distance now. I looked at that first one back a few times, and it could have been good from 65 yards or more. And I wonder if he's ever going to get that chance, because Tomlin seems very committed to giving him the opportunity. But you don't want to rely on kickers all the time. You got to make some offense, and especially against some of the better teams in the NFL.
Listen, we talked about this, Bob, and the reality is this: you can't rely on making 6 field goals and win a game against a good football team. The Atlanta Falcons are an average team, right? And today, I don't know if the Steelers beat one of the upper echelon teams, a team that they aspire to be, if they try to rely on 6 field goals. They have to finish drives, but Boswell is the man. I mean, the reality was, in training camp, it looked like he struggled a little bit, right? But he was 6 for 6. I think one of the things was with those long kicks, it was in a dome. When you're in a dome, it's easier to kick, right? You don't have the elements. There's no grass. It's turf. Much easier to plant. So I think that played to this as well. But 6 for 6 with a lot of room, and that punt, no question. Even with T.J. Watt's play, my player of the game.
Yeah, that was a whole crazy situation there. And in case you missed it, Mike Tomlin said that Cameron Johnston has a serious injury, so that's not good. He's been outstanding ever since they signed him, and now they'll most likely be looking for someone. And I think Presley Harvin was cut by the San Francisco, and I'm just suggesting this is a player who's out there, right?
You're going to get crushed for saying that.
I'm just saying. You're going to have to find somebody, right? And they have familiarity with him, so we'll see what they look at. But let's take a look at the scoring summary as we think about those options, because that's going to be something that Mike Tomlin talks about this week at his weekly press conference, which you can see right here on KDKA+. So they fell behind, and it was Boswell with a couple, and then the Pitts touchdown, which was a miscommunication of something. It looked like Beanie Bishop got burned on that one. There was 10-6. They got another one. And then I thought a key one was that run right before halftime. Because it looked like the Steelers had no shot at going down the field and getting points at all. At the time, it was 10-6. And they gave up a 38-yard reception to George Pickens, who I thought got a little bit lucky.
Yes.
Because it looked like he was wasn't aware of it was a long developing play. If memory serves, they only had 9 seconds left, and they used all of it but 1 second. He stepped out of bounds. If he had not,
clock would have run.
Clock would have run.
Yeah, and here's the reality, right? I mean, Raheem Morris said, it was a great play on both sides of the ball, and they executed. No. They were in prevent defense, Bob. They were playing, not letting anything behind them, keeping in front of them, but they let him go for a 35-plus yard pass, and that put him in field goal position, and it just flipped the momentum back, right? They had that touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts. Beanie Bishop blew the coverage, and then you want to be able to go into the locker room with the momentum. But they allowed that play to happen. The Steelers kick a field goal that flipped the momentum back in the Steelers' favor, and the Falcons really could not get it back. The Steelers dominated. If you look at the stats, they absolutely dominated the second half, and it started at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and there's no question because Kirk Cousins was on the field. By the way, there was one more field goal on that list. But here's the thing. If you're Raheem Morris, you got to know that Boswell's good from 65 yards. Yeah. So you don't want to give up any sort of yardage, and they did, and they got burned by it, and so that 3 points was a big one. Dante Jackson was acquired for Deontay Johnson in the offseason. He's starting opposite Joey Porter Jr., made a big interception late in this game today. Let's hear from him after the game.
Adjustments, they had ran that play to score where they was seeing 3 high, and they were just trying to hide a guy and send him up the sideline. That's how Pitts got open on the touchdown. So in-game adjustment sideline, we knew they'll come back to it. Just had to widen my vision and play with the ball was there. Shout out to TJ, man, for getting the ball out and making them throw an errant pass, and that's how we capitalized.
And it seemed exactly you knew that was coming that way.
Exactly knew it was coming. Once I seen the guy wheeling up the sideline, I knew what he wanted.
You brought up Watt. I mean, he had a couple game-changing plays taken away from him, though, too.
Game record, man. It's just a blessing to get out there and share the field with these type of players, man. Can't help but to go out there and do your part, and that's just what I did for real.
Yeah, and he owed him one because he got called for a hands to the face, which nullified one of those strip sacks. So this time he came up and picked up T.J. Watt with that interception. Leading tacklers in this game, you see Minkah Fitzpatrick back in there doing his thing, roaming around the center field, although I would expect to see more game-changing plays from him as the year goes on. Then you have Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward. Let's talk about number 97 and also Montravius Adams, who continues to linger around here. It seems like no matter what, he's there and he's making plays when again. But Cam Hayward signs the contract. He was a force in there. A lot of pressure up the front by those 3 guys, specifically in Ogunjobi.
Absolutely. And Cam Hayward, what he does, he just takes on blockers and sheds blockers and makes tackles. On some of those big run stops, it was Cam Hayward right there just holding the point, knocking guys back, coming off blocks, putting a helmet on the runners. And then you talk about Montravius Adams. Listen, he is not kind of like the mold of a Steelers defensive lineman. This is not a guy who plays down the line and takes on blockers. He's a penetrator. And so you watch a lot of the times he makes plays, he's getting upfield. He's getting on the edge of these linemen and causing havoc in the backfield. And so that's where it's a little different because he struggles to play 2-gap and hold the point, which we're typical to see. He'll get knocked off the ball a little bit. Today, his presence was felt, and he had that sack.
Number 97 spoke after the game. Let's go back down to Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought it's very big. Brings confidence. It's a welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they came to play and got the job done for us. Not at all, especially with all the rule changes and everything. But I think that's just a testament to what guys do throughout the week. They lock in. Play good assignment football. I think the unsung hero, I thought Larry Ogunjobi had a lot of great pressures that were critical to turnovers. I think just having that balance up front and in the back end, we can create some splash plays.
Dante talked a little bit about he knew that play was coming. You guys ran it earlier and they were coming that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he rushed it a little bit, but, I think it comes down to film study. I think it comes down to just looking at what's in front of you, and taking the game in as a whole.
I know you don't need any confidence, but what is it like this, especially it's like a defensive kind of win?
Just gets us to 1-0 with the chance to go 2-0. We can, there's a lot we can build on, a lot we can learn from, but it's better to be learning while you're winning. So, we'll take that.
Yeah, that defensive line did a good job when I came into this game. When you look at it, the Steelers had a lot of kind of turbulence on their offensive line. Atlanta returned all 5 of their starters from last year, and with a veteran quarterback added to try to help some of their skill players, you said, that's going to be a tough matchups. But, boy, the defensive line really did neutralize their offensive line.
Well, yeah, listen, the reality is this. When you have a quarterback that can't move, and he's a sitting duck in the pocket, it makes it very difficult for an offensive line to protect the quarterback. I mean, reality is, you know where he's going to be. He's not going to move. He's not going to step up. And so you can, as a defensive lineman, you can really work your pass rush moves. You can really try to get on the edge on the outside of these linemen because you're not worried about opening up an escape lane for a quarterback. If that was Justin Fields, you can't do those kind of things, Bob. You've got to make sure that you keep the integrity and not let him escape. So it's a different type of attack, and it's much easier to get after a Kirk Cousins than it is a Justin Fields.
All right, Justin Fields, as we said, is speaking right now. Let's go to Fields at his first interview after a win for the Steelers.
Yeah, we basically caught a rollout to the left, tried to get a concept going over there, but just felt the left side DN kind of rush upfield, so I kind of stopped in the pocket and saw they were playing cloud backside, and we know their safeties are kind of pick hungry. They're ball hawks, so they like to follow the QB's eyes. So I just saw that they kind of dropped George backside because they saw that we were moving the pocket a little bit, and great protection up front, and it was a big play for us before the half. So a great connection with that.
Did you feel you got off to maybe a little
shaky start?
Yeah.
What point did you set it down?
Yeah, we definitely got off to a slow start, especially the first play, and then I missed the throw to Van. But after the first drive, I feel like we settled in a little bit, and especially as the game went along, definitely settled in. So definitely had that slow start for sure.
What do you think kind of caused the slow start? Was it just first game jitters?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can say it. I don't have a reason, but just know that won't happen again. So yeah.
Obviously, you want to win anytime you play, but under these circumstances, coming back home plus first game of the Steelers, how significant of a victory is this for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, personally it's great. I have a bunch of family here, family and friends, old high school teammates. So just the setting, I really couldn't ask for it a better way. So, God sure does work in mysterious ways. So, I'm just thankful for him and really just this moment with my team. So, but like you said, just coming back home, being able to get a dub against the hometown team was great.
What about the fact that the decision wasn't really made that you would start until almost game time, a couple hours before the game? How did that play into your preparation?
I was just, I always just have the mentality to be ready. I've been in this situation before in my rookie year, so anything can happen. So I just always have the mindset of, be ready and, just be ready for anything. So.
When did you find out you were getting the start today?
Russ came in after warming up, and he told me that, that I was up. So, like we said, kind of all week, he was questionable, was trying to get his calf right and try to get going, but so really right before the game.
Slow start, and I know with, sometimes you can get in your head or whatever, but can you speak to the conversations that was happening on the sideline as far as from your players and your teammates?
I mean, yeah, we know we were better than that. So, I mean, nobody was stressing the slow start. So, like I said, that's not going to happen again. At the end of the day, nobody was stressing. Nobody was like, oh, what's going on? So we know what kind of game we play. We know what we can do on the field. And, like we said, we still got some stuff to work on. We still got to, be better in the red zone, be better with, self-inflicting wounds, such as penalties and stuff like that. But we weren't stressing the slow start whatsoever. So, yeah.
What are those deep balls, those connections that you had, what does that do for the offense in terms of giving you guys momentum or maybe giving you confidence in your receivers and in the line to have that play develop?
Yeah, I mean, it gets us going. I think the O-line did a great job today, protecting, keeping me clean on those longer developing plays. And, of course, GP, he's always going to make plays for you downfield. So it's really just a credit to the O-line, running backs blocking, and, the receiver doing their thing. So, yeah.
What does it mean to have a weapon like Boswell? That you're pretty much across midfield and you're kind of in scoring range.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did his thing today. He was kicking those long field goals for us, putting points up on the board, and late in the game he had to punt for Cam. So just having a weapon like him on the offensive side of the ball, you know, how we only have to get the ball to the 40. I mean, it makes our job way easier. But like I said before, we rather, you know, end the drive with extra points rather than field goals. So we're going to work on that and score more touchdowns next week.
How do you feel your young linemen did, especially the 2 guys making their first starts?
I think they did a great job. Like I said, I felt clean pretty much the most day. I think on one of the sacks I had, I definitely could have just, you know, got the ball out quicker, thrown the ball away. But I think overall they did a great job, and I know they're not going to do anything but keep getting better. So, yeah.
What was the communication like with Arthur Smith kind of coming into this game, and what conversations did you have about what plays you preferred or what the game plan would be?
I mean, yeah, we usually just talk on Fridays, and, you know, he gets a feel of, you know, what concepts I like, what plays I like, and stuff like that. And then we just meet on Saturday again and just go over the same thing, his opening thoughts, what he's thinking. So, you know, just that QB-OC connection and kind of him knowing what I like and, you know, me knowing why he's calling a certain play, it just makes our offense click more.
With Russ's injury during the preseason, you got a lot of snaps, a lot of preseason game work. Did you look at this as another big opportunity to show the staff, hey, maybe I should be the starter?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not even worried about that. You know, I just came in wanting a win, and I'm glad that we're leaving here with a win. So in terms of who's starting, who's not, all I want to do is win at the end of the day. So, yeah, I'm really not even, you know, going to get into all of that, you know, who I want to start, At the end of the day, I came here to win, no matter if I was going to throw for 300 yards, 100 yards, no yards, like, I came here to win. So that's the only focus I have.
How important is it to win that first game then?
Yeah, it's definitely important, you know, having momentum going into week 2 and, you know, just starting off the season right. That was the biggest thing. So, you know, like I said, defense had a hell of a game. They played well, and special teams did too. So, like I said, we want to just put more points on offense, but, you know, just coming out with a win is very important to start the season off right and getting that momentum going into week 2.
Guys, 2 more.
Justin Fields just wants to win, baby, win, and they did today, and he did a very good job. 17 of 23, 156, no turnovers. When you think about that, that's big because he's had a history of turning the ball over, whether it's an interception or a fumble. And they had that first center quarterback exchange right off the bat, first play of the game. Yeah. So let me ask you about, you know, you got a new quarterback and you also have a rookie center. Zach Frazier, man, the guy spent a lot of time in West Virginia. Everyone knew he was one of those guys who could step right in, but it's not that easy just to say it. He backed it up today. I thought he played very well.
I thought he played really well. I want to go back and watch the film and really break down his play, but I thought from what I saw today in the game, I thought Zach Frazier really represented himself well and showed that he's a guy that they can put in the middle of the lineup and he will grow. I mean, they need him to become a Pouncey-like kind of guy. I know they're different body types, different styles of play, but a guy that can be a pillar for that offensive line right there in the middle. It's interesting, right? And you look at Justin Fields and, you know, that first bad snap, but they figured it out, a rookie quarterback. Justin Fields had a little nerves being on a new team, but they figured it out, Bob, and they were able to work it out, and they had no more turnovers, no more bad snaps the rest of the game.
No, he and Spencer Anderson did well. When we come back, we'll talk about what Justin Fields didn't want to talk about. That is who starts next week. I know that's not a player thing, but it's something that we all like, and people love to talk about it. It's a quarterback, after all. We'll get into that as they make their way to Denver next Sunday on KDKA. 18-10 Steelers win. They're 1-0.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, we continue right here. Take a look at the final stats, and you can see that the Steelers ran the ball 41 times, although 14 of those were Justin Fields, so you have to take that out of the equation. Still, a commitment to the run, and I think we all knew that Arthur Smith likes to run. On the flip side there, I will say this. I thought they did a good job as the game went on DeShon Robinson, a very talented running back, and those totals are very pedestrian for a team that wants to run the ball like Atlanta.
Oh, there's no question. Listen, the reality is 41 runs, that came in the second half. They only had 16 runs at halftime. So the third quarter, Bob, we talked about this. They were pounding the football. They have 13 plays, came away with no points. I would say probably every single one but 1 or 2 of those plays was a run. But what's not being shown up there is that the Steelers were 47% on third down. 8 for 17. That's huge. That's why you see a lopsided time of possession. That's why you see 41 runs. The Steelers were really, really good. 47% is really, really good in the NFL when it comes to third down.
Yeah, you just keep the ball, you keep pounding, and the good thing, you don't give them a chance to have it at all. Pat Freiermuth made his first game appearance since he signed his 4-year, $48 million extension. He spoke after the game.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, obviously. Obviously, we didn't have much film on them. You know, we watched a lot of LA film because that's where Raheem and Lake came from, and You know, we got to build on it, but you know, I thought it was a direction the right forward.
Friday, take anything off your mind, get the new deal, just going into this game?
Yeah, a little stress relief. Yeah, a little stress relief. You know, it was obviously very exciting. I get the long-term retention here in Pittsburgh, but you know, obviously with happening Friday, couldn't really do much to celebrate, so I'll be able to celebrate tonight, which is awesome.
Is that kind of the plan all along? Just say, I'm not going to like hold in or do anything. I'm just going to do my usual work.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I'm not any type of drama, so you know, I love being able to practice with my guys and you know, staying healthy throughout it all, and you know, very excited to be part of this organization for 4 years.
How did Justin?
I thought Justin did awesome. You know, all the reps in camp obviously paid off today, and you know, he was very composed in there, and it was awesome.
As much as you were, did you kind of expect it to be like this when it started?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we don't want that, but I thought we would move the ball. We were able to move the ball. We just got to finish the drives and punch in the end zone.
All right, Pat Freiermuth was targeted 4 times. He made every catch thrown in his direction. 4 catches on the day, just 27 yards, but some of them were big. He had a 10-yarder, which moved the change. And those are important, especially on a team that wants to play close to the vest as they did in this first game. Now, let's talk about next week, because this will be coming up shortly on our, Ireland contract sports call and all week long until Mike Tomlin addresses it on Tuesday. But he played very well, did Justin Fields. They're going on the road to a team like Denver, and this is the Russell Wilson Bowl, as today was the Arthur Smith Bowl. So, Russell Wilson wants to be back there and I'm sure make a statement, just as Smith did today. So if he's healthy, what do you think Mike Tomlin does, given the fact that this was pretty good performance by Justin Fields? He didn't turn the ball over, and pretty good numbers.
Russ Wilson, no question about it.
No question.
There's no question about it in my mind. Listen, these are good numbers, right? 17 for 23, 106 yards. There's a lot of what we've seen. A lot of it was dinking and dunking. Yeah, he threw the ball down the field. He had a 33-yarder, a 35-yarder to Pickens that was called back for OPI, pass interference on the offense.
Bad call, by the way.
Bad call. And 40-yard pass to Pickens. But there was a lot of dinking and dunking, and I don't know if there was a lot of confidence. You're going to see Russ Wilson come in here because Coach Tomlin likes veteran quarterbacks. That's what he wanted, and we're going to see Russ Wilson. You're going to see numbers of Pat Freiermuth go up. And listen, you're going to lose the element of Justin Fields running the ball. You probably see him come in a little bit circumstantially in the game. But Russ Wilson is the guy that Coach Tomlin wants to see on the field. He's the guy who can stretch the field and open up this offense, and he'll open up the running game even more to go from a 3.3-yard average in this game. I mean, 41 carries is great, but they only had a 3.3-yard average. If Russ Wilson can throw the ball in the middle of the field, where we didn't see it today, and the outside, it'll open up that run game.
Yeah, that's been a theme, still not throwing the ball in the middle of the field, and most of the throws to George Pickens were down the sidelines, and he was really good today.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the quarterback comparison, because not many people thought that Kirk Cousins, although again he's coming off surgery, so we weren't sure. We did not see him in the preseason, would only have 155 yards, 2 interceptions. So if you compare these two, by far it was Fields with a better rating at 92 versus 56 for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins can still throw a good ball, but the reality is he's the statue sitting in the backfield, easy for pass rushers, especially ones like T.J. Watt to get to. But the difference in this game, it's the youngster versus the older veteran, right? 57 yards rushing. The Steelers can spread guys out, run the quarterback draw, get a first down, a quarterback lead, get a first down. That's the element of Justin Fields' game. He is not the greatest passer. He's not a horrible passer, but Russ Wilson is a much better passer, but his element of running really brings an element that's difficult to defend.
One other thing, there was a 4th and 1 in which the Steelers went for it. They're protecting a lead. It would have been an easy field goal for Boswell to make it an 8-point lead. Instead, they went for it. And I have no problem with that. Did you have a problem with that? Only because 4th and 1, they expect to get it. Plus, Atlanta wasn't moving the ball at all against the Steeler defense.
Well, listen, you have Justin Fields, who was the best running quarterback in the NFL last year, right? And he was converting first downs as a quarterback in this game. And so you would think 4th and 1, we're going to get it with Justin Fields. What I was a little discouraged about, Bob, was the play before that, I believe, when they threw a quick pass out to Van Jefferson. They had the play they wanted. It was a beautiful call. Then you have Calvin Austin.
And
you have George Pickens out there, hat on a hat against 2 defenders. They both got beat. They both got beat, thrown to the side, and tackled Van Jefferson. If they just get in the way, if one of them win that block, that hat on a hat, Van Jefferson goes for a first down, and we're not even talking about this. This game is wide open.
Correct. And those 2 missed blocks led to the 4th and 1, and then it turned out they didn't get it. So interesting. A lot of people would have said take the points. I don't think there's a bad decision there one way or the other. If you do take the points, it's a one-possession game plus 2-point conversion.
If he gets it there, the game's over. Right? They're gonna suffocate the Falcons, and I don't think anybody thought that he wasn't going to convert that. I mean, that's Justin Fields. That's what he does best, is with his legs.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with more. Soon we'll be taking your phone calls on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call Special Steelers Edition. Beautiful day in Atlanta, especially for Steeler fans who are out celebrating tonight an 18-10 win on the road. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. I bet you never thought going in this game that Ray McCloud would be the targeted man for Atlanta, more so than anyone else. In fact, two of their most prominent offensive players, Kyle Pitts, along with Drake London, combined for just 5 catches.
Yeah, and one catch for 20 yards by Ray was when T.J. Watt hit Kirk Cousins, and the ball was fluttering in the air, and Ray went up and got it. So you think about it, it was just a rough throwing day. And the Steelers, the first half, I thought the Falcons played pretty good football. The second half, you heard T.J. Watt. They made some adjustments. What the adjustments? Get after the offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and they really dominated that second half. I mean, if you look at Kirk Cousins in the second half was 3 for 8 for 19 yards. Yeah. And Bob, when you talk about how does a team dominate the second half, it's your offense. If your offense can control the clock, if your offense can run the football and methodically move the ball down the field, that demoralizes a team, absolutely demoralizes the defense. If the Steelers could just finish a couple of those drives, this game would have been a blowout. They've got to be able to finish drives, and they didn't do that today.
We saw that in that 13-play, 72-yard drive, which featured no points, but Spencer Anderson, the 7th-round pick last year, he got a start today and did very well as well. Let's hear from him after the game.
Off the first drive, the whole line obviously is something we care about. We looked at them, we're like, oh, they're going on silent. And that was kind of what we anticipated anyway, them going on silent because, we have the best fans in the NFL.
What do you guys need to do for moving forward?
I think just execute better in the red zone. Obviously, we didn't have the results we wanted in the red zone. I mean, Boz came through when he needed to, but, 4th and 1 and, 3rd downs in the red zone. Obviously, I think I had a false start in the red zone, but, I think we just got to execute better as a team.
How frustrating is it when you can't get those short yardage situations?
Oh, it's definitely frustrating because, you kind of pride yourself in those moments and, as an O-lineman, you kind of want the ball in your court, and obviously what happened, and we'll go look over it. But for the most part, I thought we played pretty solid. Everybody communicated. If you see something, say something, and I feel like for the most part we were pretty good.
Well, that's Spencer Anderson. Good for him. He moved right in. He's one of those guys who can play a lot of positions. It's interesting because a lot of time we talk about the Steelers have drafted 2 number 1 left tackles the last 2 years, and yet it's Dan Moore who continues to play. And if you break it down, he did a pretty good job today again. And it's funny, those guys may have to wait a little bit because he's in the final year probably here in Pittsburgh. Who knows? But it's pretty incredible that none of those 2 is starting. It's Broderick Jones on the right side. Fautano didn't get a chance.
You have to give a lot of credit to Dan Moore Jr., right? Because he's a guy where, okay, you're going to challenge me. You're going to bring in a first-round draft pick. I'm going to rise up. They had to move Broderick Jones to the right. Then you bring in Troy Fautanu, and he said, okay, you're challenging me again. And then they put both guys on the right, and then Fautanu gets hurt. He continues to hold down that left tackle spot. You didn't hear his name at all today. You didn't hear his name throughout the preseason, which tells you he's playing pretty dang good football right now, that left tackle spot. I don't see him losing that, Bob, throughout the season.
Well, we'll see. That's going to be interesting to follow that as well. All right, big plays. We talked about the turnover that Watt recovered the fumble. Another big play was Larry Ogunjobi putting the push. It led to a DeShon Elliott interception as Cousins made a bad throw. It was a very well diagnosed by DeShon Elliott. That turned into 3 points. Let's hear from him after the game.
Because later, they might already be back there. So do your job for a couple seconds, and you're good.
What did you see on that interception there? Obviously, you had to make a play against the grain, but what did you see from Kirk and how you were able to react?
I was doing my job. We were running a specific coverage, and I'm like, if you were going to throw that, he threw it. But I think he threw it because of the rush. So you do your job, you're in the right place at the right time, ball comes to you. So finally found the home where I'm trying to get the ball back to me again like I was when I was in college. So it feels good. I mean, 6 years later, but still, finally.
I was going to say, I know you're known as more of a hard hitter. Is that more validating for you personally, just like, hey, I can make plays on the ball too? And...
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've had years where I've dropped a couple balls and you can kind of mess up your confidence, but I'll spend a lot of time this offseason and during the training camp and OTAs with Mink, and we do a lot of ball drills, and when it came, it was just kind of natural. So I'm just
every other day. Practice makes perfect.
What's going through your mind when Tomlin comes up and playing so well?
What'd you say?
What's going through your mind when Tomlin comes up and gives you a big kiss?
I hope he doesn't do that. But, I respect Coach. I appreciate him for bringing me here. And it's a long season. We're going to be better each week.
DeShon, do you feel like sometimes defenses nowadays have an advantage early in the season?
I would say no. I would say vice versa because you don't have a lot of chances to watch film on the offenses. They can throw a lot of wrinkles in there on us. And for us, it's like if there's a D coordinator, he's going to run the same stuff he's been running for years. Offensively, they can always switch something up. There's always ripples in the game. So going into this game, it's kind of hard to prepare for them because we've never seen the Falcons play. We were watching a lot of Rams stuff. It just wasn't. We didn't know what to expect on game day besides just going out there and playing our rules and playing the way we're supposed to play. Steelers football.
Dante talked a little bit about who knew that play was coming. You guys knew that play was coming.
Yeah.
Did you see that earlier?
I mean, that's different because that's in-game adjustments. So we come to the sideline, talk to each other, communicate what we're seeing out there. Even we have guys who aren't dressed out. They're still talking to us. Like you said, it's a team game. So everyone plays a role. Everyone plays a part.
Speaking of a team game, though, the defense, kind of won this game today. And how does that make you feel moving into next week? I know you guys are already confident.
Yeah. We didn't win this game. Boswell won this game. He did. Obviously one of the best kickers in the NFL. But we just got to build on this, be consistent. Obviously people expect us to be one of the best defenses because we have the talent. We just got to go out there and perform every week.
That's a good interview. He made me laugh a few times. He's saying Boswell in the game, which he did. But also, he couldn't believe Kirk Cousins threw the ball. I didn't either. When he threw that ball, I thought, what is he doing? The pressure. He should have just basically taken a sack if need be.
And listen, and that's what happens when you get a little older. You don't want to take hits, Bob. And so you're going to try to get rid of the ball and avoid a hit or try to chuck and duck. And that's what Kirk Cousins did today. And listen, here's the reality. He talked about the rush. And with the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you're getting a rush, you're able to create turnovers on the back end. And that's the one thing the Steelers have always, you and I have done this a long time, Bob. We've always talked about the front end of the defense and the back end of the defense are tied together. If you're not getting a pass rush, which happens at times when TJ Watt's out of the game, it's very difficult to get an interception, to get takeaways. But when you're putting pressure on the quarterback and you're able to put him under duress, he's going to throw you the football, and he did that twice today. There could have been 4 interceptions. He threw the ball to him 2 other times. One time I think he hit DeShon right in the face.
Right in the face, bounced off
and he missed it. I think the first or second drive of the game. So that's how important getting a pass rush against a quarterback is.
That may have been Jackson. I can't remember who it was, but it hit right out.
Yeah.
It should have been an interception as well. But that's kudos to them. They worked well, and they took advantage of Kirk Cousins, who hadn't played since last October because of that surgery to the Achilles. All right, let's take a look at the road ahead here. Brought to you by Ford. And you'll see it's next week. It's the Broncos. A 425 game. We'll have it for you on KDKA TV. Chris and I will follow right afterwards here on KDKA Plus. And then it's the home opener late in the year. Release September 22nd, 1 o'clock against the Chargers. And that's an interesting team with Jim Harbaugh now in control. That the Colts after that on the road. So that won't be easy. It never is in that dome. And then October the 6th, the Cowboys on a Sunday night here in Pittsburgh. Dak Prescott just got $60 million a year on average today. 4 years, $240 million.
That's about what KDKA is paying you, right? No, but if you look at these 4 games right here, I don't think any of those are gimme games right now, right? You're going to Denver. That's a tough place to play. You got Justin Herbert coming here with Jim Harbaugh. You know they're going to be a formidable opponent. I was surprised at how well the Colts played today against the Texans, right? 27-29.
Anthony Richardson looked good.
Yeah,
he
did.
Made a couple of nice throws.
He did. And then that last one there, I just think the Steelers, I don't think there's any gimme games to talk about this being a very difficult schedule for the Steelers, not just on the back end. I think the front end is going to be difficult as well.
Well, I think you got to take advantage of the front end until you get to the back end. Build up some.
But those aren't
equity.
gimmies. None of those are gimmies.
No, none of them are. I don't think there's any gimme in the NFL. These teams are all capable of winning. Okay, maybe 1 or 2.
Jacksonville a few years back.
Jacksonville almost won today. Miami beat them barely.
Before they had Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. All right, that's going to wrap it up for our show here. But we're not done because we're asking you to call us and air your opinions. You can also do it on Twitter if you want at KDPomp at HokeyBro76. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You call us on your take on this game and looking ahead to the one coming up in Denver next week. Thanks for joining us here on the Ford Steelers Extra Point. We're back with your calls next.